Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Isn't this a wonderful night?
Look at the size of the smile.
Well, the one thing that I'm pleased about, oh, more than one thing I'm pleased about, but the one thing I'm pleased about, I wouldn't have to put that bloody banner up. An absolute nightmare. But there you are. Anyway, welcome to our handover meeting, and lovely evening, and hope you're all in good form. No guest tonight as such, but Richie has struggled over from across the street. Very good to see him. There are a few apologies, but I've made sure they're all very good reasons. Apologies from Ian Campbell, Bob Cumming, Ross Finney, Ian McNaughton, Camish Mature, Alan Robertson, and Bob Webster. So that's not too bad. The apologies, well, I've just given them. Birthdays. Visit to other clubs?
Greetings from the Rotary Club of Maidstone.
Well done. Wow. Did you go? Did you actually go, or did you just meet somebody?
No, we met. There's a Rotary Club on board the ship. It's a registered Rotary place, so
yes.
A couple of us met and exchanged greetings. So
yeah, right, okay, well done, well done.
There's the banner.
Yes, there's the banner. And visitor to the sick. Bob Webster is feeling a bit poorly. He's okay, but he didn't want to come and spread whatever he's got, you know. So that's it. So I think he'll be fine. We're hoping that next week I spoke to the chef and said if we want to come along unofficially next week, you know, just at 6 o'clock-ish, and we're just sitting there and have whatever the menu is. He said, fine, no problem. Yeah, so that's, because remember last year at one point they were closing because, I don't know if it's Christmas or not, but there's some time they were closing because we weren't coming, you know, and we weren't serving food, but probably most of the winter. However, that's that. Anyone wishing to address anything? I don't want you to. Okay, in that case, we'll have grace. For the food we're about to enjoy and the fellowship of Rotary, we give thanks. Amen.
Yeah, well, the first guy pulled the but that ran for weeks and weeks and weeks. Remember his other one? He was automatic toilet until when they had one of these really stories that opened and sterilized or something. And he was running a competition for the name for it. Yeah, he killed it off because he called it the Job Centre. Oh, of course. So that just won it out of the park. And the other one he did was, remember when they did, it became as it was, the tapas place.
Don't ring it too hard, in case you got the camera.
Could we have the loyal toast? The Queen. The Queen. Well, just to say a few words on this year, I've found it very enjoyable. I don't know how you've all found it, but I am glad it's finished, but in some ways, but I enjoyed it all, and I was pleased to do it, and I enjoyed working with you all, and special thanks to the committee, because the club is really run by the committee. I mean, the presidents come and go, but by and large the committee is something the same. And there's a body of people here who are interested in the club, and that's what keeps it going. So pleased at that. So we did an interesting year, as I said. Despite COVID, we got through it. Not nearly as bad as Douglas's year when it was all COVID, you know, and Zoom meetings all the time. We had 6 Zoom meetings, and the rest of it was here, and it was very enjoyable. In the formal events this year, we had Ken Thompson's funeral on the 11th of March. I think Bob Webster went to that, and Douglas, yes, and that was good to represent the club. I could not go. District conference, John Taylor and I went to the district conference, and it was fantastic. I don't know why you don't go.
I'm looking forward to next year.
Unforgettable as well, yes. I know. So I supported Erskine at their 20th anniversary dinner, but thereby hangs a tale. Speakers, a big thank you to Bruce, arranging computers, wine, looking after their every need, and as Bob before him, getting excellent speakers. Well done, Bruce. The other things I'm going to mention now are people that spoke to us, etc., but they are not in PowerPoint. So I've got a wee PowerPoint presentation, but they're not all there. So Alistair Boyle spoke to us twice on the environment, if you like, on Heart Start and Going Green. And that was I think they were both by Zoom, and both appreciated. Alistair found it very easy to do because he had guests in, so he just went into the front room and said, "I'll be a minute while I do this presentation," and then he was able to go back again. And thanks very much, Alistair. It was good. Gavin McPherson spoke on tidal energy, and that was a great talk. That was good. And I don't know why we don't hear more about it, because it seemed so good at the time. You thought, "Oh, we'll hear about this," but I hope that keeps going. That was good. Sport. The only sport thing I've got, because I've got slides of the other things, is Diane Mackenzie from Council on Live Active. You can call that, but that's the kind of sport we will do nowadays. So that was good. The events, Christmas dinner was, as Ricky Fulton would say, AF. OFF, AF. So that was because of COVID, of course, and we had done all the preparations for it and got it to try and get it all ready and get speakers and entertainers and everything else. But that's what happens. Visits, Bob Webster organised visits to the Greenock Club and the Greif Valley. And, you know, that's fine. We had a good representation at both these places, and that was fine. Historical things that we had speakers talking about, with George English on the Mayflower. He did that by Zoom, but he got all dressed up in his Mayflower costume and things like that, and ran back and forward from the camera to get changed. So it was quite good, and he is from the Kilmarnock Club or something like that, I think. Barry Adam Strump on medical murders. Well, I think it was very good, but you know, it wasn't cheery, but it was factual, and so no, he did a good job, and he came all the way down from Glasgow to do it. The tall ships, Bruce and Bob, our own Bruce and Bob, did a tall ships. It was a video that Bruce had, and Bob was able to speak to it quite a lot, and Bruce spoke to it a bit, and you know, it turned out to be a great night, and I think it was probably a night where we didn't have a speaker or something like that, and it was, as for fill-ins, it was fantastic. So the local organisations, Craig Gibson from Clyde View, now he came along, the head boy and head girl, talked about the 10 years that the school's been going and what they'd achieved, and we asked sort of questions they knew before they came. How did it affect you? How did COVID affect you? And the pupils, I mean, it's 2 years out of their school life, so it was quite a fight. They were both, the pupils were both, I mean, the headmaster was good as well, but the pupils were excellent. We don't seem to have any photographs. If anybody's got them, it'd be quite good to get them to Bruce or somewhere that we began. I don't have any, so I can only talk about it. the Travis Craig Gibson. So Bob Webster also gave a talk, personal talk on his career, and it was very interesting. And he kept mentioning Port Glasgow in it, as he does, but you know, it was very good. So that was a great talk. Fundraising. Thanks to Douglas's drive and determination, we raised approximately £8,000. This was mainly from whisky tasting, Kids Out, and Ukraine. Raising money for the Ukraine. It was a fantastic effort, and a huge thanks to Douglas for that. So the slide, I've now got a few slides that I will try and show, and if you want to move around or anything, put them up there.
Turn around in my seat.
One or two are out of order with my script, so you know, the usual hesitation. Turn around, or you might want to go down to the right there somewhere, you know, sit Jim.
Right.
It might take a second or two to waken up, by the way.
It takes me a while as well.
Good.
Is any good?
Oh, you can make your mind up. Ask me later.
The only thing I'm doing is pressing the arrow, but it's
Probably because it's been sitting. Just give it a second.
That's a bit closer.
Once it gets going, I'll go.
It's a little bit valves to warm up.
Use Archie's stick to hit it.
Go with stick, Bruce. Give it a
Oh,
there you go.
I did it there.
Just that's straight and sometimes
Oh, right. That was the start. That was, I didn't know what was going to happen at that point. That was the first night, and I don't know whether I'm making a point here or not. I'm looking a bit serious, but there you are.
You're improperly dressed as well, no tie.
No,
Then
no.
our first, yes,
Pardon?
it was to be an informal year. That was the message. I thought I've not kept to it. In the winter I get very cold.
Yeah.
So the next one is Balboa, and Balboa talked about the James Watt Institute, and good talk. There's lots and lots of stuff in there, and I enjoyed it. The-
Handsome head, that, isn't it?
It's the best side.
Yeah.
This is Phil Godfrey.
You've jumped.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. God, you've changed, Phil.
Back one.
Oh, no, it's not. If you were quick, yeah.
That's it.
My knuckle hit the keyboard at that. That's Phil Godfrey, and he was the gentleman that came and spoke in ATS. Because his wife had died from it, and he was on a mission to go round every club in the country if he could and visit it. He was a former British Rail employee, so he actually got to travel for nothing, but he did stay locally in a hotel at his own expense.
Yeah, he was
He was great. He was good. We liked him. So this one is Betty McDonald, official visit, district governor, and she said all the things you're supposed to say, and it was good night again. Then we have Topcliffe Strollers. Now that was, I wasn't on that one, but that was up behind Windhill, something. Yeah, Corlick Hill eventually, and that was a good one. I'd like to have gone on that. And that was good. Hopefully we'll carry that on this year. Alan Beck, he was speaking that particular night on Colin Ray Brown. Some of you might remember the name. He actually spoke on it very, very well. That night was good.
It was only better by the one in the town hall.
And then we have the Paul Harris Awards. Now that's Susan Aitchison and Alan Aiken. They both got well deserved, and they both got their awards. and it was a good night, and all went well. So that was that. Ross Finney gave us a career talk, Ross Finney being our new member at that time, a career talk. And we got in touch with Holroyd, or they got in touch with us, Holroyd in Australia, and they were doing a silly hats day. And I didn't notice any difference, but yeah. So anyway, they did that, and we joined in with them, and it was a fundraising thing they were doing, so we did one here as well. And that was quite amusing. One or two people, what's Douglas?
Douglas is a pig.
Douglas is something unusual then.
Yeah, second row from the bottom,
Middle.
The middle.
Oh yeah, is that Douglas? Oh yes. That's good. The whiskey tasting with David Turner, and Douglas again organised all this. It was Douglas's baby, and it worked a dream. It really did. From organising to get the bottles, getting the distillery manager, who happened to be somebody he knew quite well, but he got it, and got it all organised. I mean, even down to making templates to put the wee measures in for the whiskey so as it didn't spill. And that was all very well organised. They was on Zoom also, and quite a few people were on Zoom, and they had been sent by post their miniature bottles, and with the promise that they wouldn't open them until the right day. So we did that, and that was good. And the speaker, David Turner, he spoke from Bowmore, from the distillery. And it was great. I mean, we were using the technology, and it was very enjoyable indeed. The next one, that I think is still the whiskey tasting. Now,
Yes,
Sadhu won the raffle. Now, for the only person that seriously collects whiskey to have as a collection, is Sadhu, so that was really quite good. I think the other people, I think we've had the whiskey tasting by this point, just looking at them, but it's good.
I think that was a fix between John McLeod and Sadhu.
You think?
Yeah. You picked the winging ticket, wasn't it, John?
Now, is that some? No, this is Colin Ray Brown.
This is the
Dinner. This is the Great Burns Club and the Colin Ray Brown dinner, and you know it was a good enough dinner. It was very formal, and there weren't a lot of laughs.
I think that's me checking the calendar to see how long the speech lasts.
I had to remove all the sharp knives off the table.
Okay, Remembrance Sunday, obviously, which the club has always been represented at over the years, and we continue that. Douglas and I were putting in a photograph to the Telegraph, I think, with Kids Out, and that's what that was about, as far as I know. Jim Wise gave a career talk, and very interesting indeed, and well done, Jim. And we went to visit the Scouts' renovated headquarters in Mearn Street in Greenock, and on the outside gable of the building they've got a climbing wall, and Alistair Boyle was halfway up there.
Spider-Man Boyle.
Where we could stop him. So
it's yourself, Mr. President.
oh, is it? All right.
That's you.
It's because of the mask and all that.
50 feet off the ground.
I thought it was Spider-Man.
There's probably a box. I'm probably standing in a box, but I don't know. Anyway, that was it. It was amazing what this guy has done. The Scout that organised all of this is quite amazing, because it's a fantastic centre inside, and it will cope with other people as well as Scouts. They're going, one of the levels, it's a two-level building. One of the levels is going to be let out for all sorts of things, but they're going to have a cinema in it and all sorts of things, you know, to try and get the local boys in and get them organised. So it was impressive.
I think, if I remember right, they invited us to go back at some stage as well to see the
Yes,
progress.
once that part was, yes,
So
yes, he did.
It would be worth going back there.
Well, it was good.
It was really interesting.
Here we have got Alan Beck again, and this time it was the St Andrew's night, And it was a fairly low key, because everything was fairly low key last year because of COVID. We couldn't have thousands of people and all that sort of thing. But anyway, he came along and he was extremely good. And he also accompanied and brought with him a singer from the school, who's Rachel McLeod. And she was great, she was really good. And it was an enjoyable night there as well. The next one is on the bottom middle is Brian Dick of the New Chocolate Company, and obviously on Zoom, and he talked about obviously his chocolate factory and how he did it and what his market was and that sort of thing. And if he had been here, he'd have handed out sweets, you know, to see what it tasted like. But he wasn't, and he heard us talking about the Burns supper we were going to have the next week. So parcel duly arrived with a box of chocolates for everybody for the next week's Burns supper, which we duly distributed. So that was excellent, and that was a good night as well. Obviously, that's the Burns night, and every picture tells a story, but that really does tell a story. I addressed the haggis. John piped it in, Alistair gave the immortal memory, John sang, and Bruce gave a recitation. So that's your night. You know, it seemed to come together. I was going to say it was well organised, but it came together.
I like the stop sign there. Stop.
Clyde Academy, Craig Gibson, headmaster, and the three winners from the young photographers competition. And young John McLeod standing beside them, and so that was our presentation to them. We Norman did very good certificates and gave them out to them. They looked great. So that was a success. And as you know, Craig Gibson was back, with the head boy and head girl some weeks later.
Just send you the picture of that, John. Jim.
All right. Oh yeah, Lynn Chambers from the Gourock Club, and she spoke on John Paul Jones, something or villain, hero or villain, something like that. And that was fine, she'd researched it very well, and it's good. That was Alan Cummings, talked about the window at the Dardanelles, which I think is it in the James Watt?
Yes.
James Watt Institute. So great. He was talking to us. I mean, we thought he might be a potential member. I think. Did we think that?
Yes. Well, I've asked him on 3 occasions, but he's always.
I think he would quite like to, but he's not quite ready yet.
He's not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
The window's been an excuse every time.
Yeah. Rhoda Morrison, who Archie and I knew, and she lived in Cumbernauld, and we said, "Do you want to do it in Zoom?" She said, "No, I'll come through." And I thought, well, I can understand people wanting to come here. It's a great view, but not in November. And so it was really, she came through the dark. We had a great. She was very good. She talked about medicine and art. She is what's she, Archie?
She was a forensic psychologist.
Forensic psychologist, and she had been thinking about art when she left university, when she left school, and she went down, instead of going down the art area, she went down medicine, and she became, she was in Carstairs, I think, for years, and very good. So she was very interesting. I found it very interesting. So that was that. Sadhu Gupta. This was the night. I wasn't here this night, and maybe it was out with COVID or something. But Sadhu was launched. The Young Citizens Award was launched that night. Were you here, Norman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't say too much about it except it was launched. And I know it's gathering steam now and going very. Do you want to say anything?
Well, it's the prototype of the award, isn't it, in the box?
Yeah.
The trophy.
They're actually about to
produce it.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting it ready, yeah.
So if we're getting that, everything's going ahead, and we've got some forms back already, which people of interest or people have been nominated by other people. So that is good. Next we've got Sandra McDougall.
Lord Lieutenant.
Yes, Deputy Lord Lieutenant, and she, again, I wasn't here because that was the next week, and she, spoke about being a Deputy Lord Lieutenant, I presume, and it seemed to be appreciated. The Vincent Gillen, again, you must have done this one as well, actually. But, yeah, he was talking about Greenock cinemas. I don't know what he said. What did he say about them?
They're all closed and they all used to show. They used to show movies.
Yeah, well, I knew that.
I know, it's quite pictures of them all the old ones.
It was very good.
Quite good stories about them all.
I've heard him talk before on any subject.
About the flooding of the pavilion and stuff like that.
Okay, Alec Galloway, local stained glass artist, and Alec talked about stained glass. He talked about Dubai. He talked about music, and he talked about guitars. And he's got various things in his shop of interest in Gourock, and he runs courses, which one of, I think Mike and Alistair has been to one of the courses on stained glass, not on guitars. So the good night. The only thing was, he said he had everything for the projector, but he had an iPad, and that was it. So we had to put the iPad top of the bell and all gather around it, and so taking the iPad away just now so as we can see, but it was there and we all watched it from that side. So he was very interested, and even seeing the iPad, he was talking about the Burj Khalifa, he was involved with the top of that or something. I mean, it was quite amazing. He had a large number of workers working for him doing this stained glass, and he really, that was quite an amazing part that you would never think of. So that was him. Then we had the McGonagall dinner. There's a bunch of old men sitting up there, but so we did it all in-house. We had the usual speeches, we had everything like that, but we didn't have any outside speakers. COVID was on, and we just kept it to that size. And we had one or two guests at service there, and one or two others came along. But any speaker, etc., was in-house from us. So that was that. Then we have got the Gourock Highland Games, and that is, we're promoting the Young Citizens Award there. And Norman did a great job there. Got round and see people around and saw the other stall holders. I was there all day, took the stuff home at night, so it was one of these jobs that we had one or two down during the day just to be there and fly the flag, as it were. And I see that banner's there to haunt me, the one that keeps falling over.
That's what I got meant.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, Camish, we're celebrating Camish's 90th birthday, his honorary membership, and his long service award, all at the same time. And so that was his 45 years, and if we just waited a few weeks, it would have been 46 years, so that's there you are. Anyway, 45 years, and that is the corner of the certificate, which you can't see. But he was delighted with it. Archie ran the evening, and he gave a full summary of Camish's life, his life. And it was very interesting, because it's something when you know somebody quite well, we didn't know all the details. And so, again, successful. This.
Chris Bradley.
Oh yes, that's Chris Bradley. Chris Bradley from Greenock does great. You can't see, it's very bright there, but Greenock Old and New. The photographs of Greenock Old and New were his theme. He would take one of the main streets where the old buildings were, where the new buildings were, and he would take the photograph of it, and he would look up archives of all sorts of places, and get the old one and line up in the exact same spot and compare them. And it's really very clever, and he works on it, you know, all the time. He's adding to his collection. It's the kind of thing that in, you know, 2 years' time, if you were to get him back, we would have a lot more, you know, the whole of Gourock maybe.
Jim, he's agreed to judge the young photographer
Oh, has he?
competition. Yeah.
All right.
That's excellent.
Good, good. So he's going to judge the young photographers. That's fine. Then we have got the Gourock Club had Jennifer Jones there, and Jennifer Jones is the incoming RI president, America, and she was there for the evening, and other clubs were invited. And John McLeod and I went along to represent the club, and that there, the person next to me that looks happy is Bill Campbell, who some of you might know as the district secretary, and next to him is Alec Blair, who is in the district, I don't know which title it is. Webmaster, yes. And we see him a lot, you know, fixing things, so that's good. Well, John, you know, Daddy Chandu, and that's Craig Spears, who some of you might know. And Dr. Craig Spears is about 10 years older than me, and he's decided to hang up his stethoscope. He was doing, you know, some examinations and things for the last number of years around the islands. It was very interesting. I mean, what he did was he would go away and do clinics and things, but he got a tour out there. So that was that. Oh yes, charter dinner. The charter dinner. Jonathan Fleming was to have done the Christmas address, but we didn't have Christmas. So I asked him along to the charter dinner, and he spoke on the church in the community. We had the Gourock Club come along as well, and one or two other guests, and we had Norman speaking on his year as president, anything outstanding in it, and Bruce doing the same. And actually, the whole evening just went by. It worked very well. Gourock were certainly very pleased. They seemed to think it was enjoyable. So I was pleased. Bowman Rebecca, right, Andrew Bowman spoke on Bowman Rebecca, and the amazing progress they've made and expansion, etc., in the last couple of years since it's been formed. And they've really got a lot of work, and it's very interesting. But the most interesting part is we think that they may sponsor, we don't know how much for, but they may sponsor our Young Citizens Award, which is marvellous.
More than that, it's actually an event to do all the awards for all the different competitions that we're running in the night.
So they wouldn't just be sponsoring that, the whole night we'd have in the town hall or somewhere
Town hall
would be for all our competitions. But
yeah.
And we have a number of people, it's not, if they sponsor it, but we're having, are they on the panel as well?
Yeah, we've also just had a letter pastor on the provost is going to attend,
Yes.
and he's going to judge and hand out the awards.
The provost and who?
He's going to judge the young
Yes.
citizens and
Yes.
hand out all the awards.
And all the awards.
And the young musicians will play for us.
Right, so young musicians over there, and the provost over there. Excellent. Now, this is a great photograph. This is our Jubilee celebrations, if you like. John, on our behalf, was at the Lyle Hill, and he played. The bonfire was being lit, and along with every other bonfire in the country, and John played the pipes, as he does for us. He's done it on thousands of occasions. Which, at the opening of an envelope, we say, "John, would you come along and play your pipes?" It turns out that the full kit never does it, so it's much appreciated, John. And I know, John, how much that particular photograph you say, you know, the Lyle Hill. So,
Yeah.
That's a
excellent.
good photo.
So, Ian, what do you call him? I've done very well remembering all the names. Simon McLean. Simon McLean, retired policeman, and he was speaking about the drugs, the war on drugs, and that we spoke a lot actually, and we all spoke a lot. So it was quite a heated's not the right word, but it was quite an interesting conversation, quite an in-depth conversation we had all night. So there you are, and that was what it's all about. And I'm not sure that any of us changed their opinion at the end of the night or not, but you know, you've got to hear what's going on. Sandra, I'm beginning to forget now, is it Sandra Boyle? Sandra Boyle from Mind Mosaic. My mind's going into a bit of a mosaic, so I don't remember. And she, mental health in Gourock was at a certain level before the pandemic, and now it's about 10 times what it was. She had 4 in the office, and she's now got 18 or something like that. And that is quite worrying when you think about it. That's in our wee place in Gourock. But if that's, you know, that the whole country is going to be something similar. So there you are. I don't know, I don't think I'm trying to look important. I think the camera's just got me at the wrong moment. There's been a whole lot of photographs where I've looked normal. I looked like a stupid as that.
Jim, are you standing in a box in that picture?
Yeah, I think I must be trying.
Working you from behind.
And then we've got David Burney. David talked to us about, David is the Gourock Golf Club manager, and he talked to us about the golf club, and what the plans are, and how they see the future. And one of the things is even getting the course, they've had somebody look at the course to see if over the years they could maybe convert one hole at a time or something, change the layout. And that is us. We played 18 minutes of putting, and it was quite tiring. So we were able to retire into the studio where we could watch people one at a time driving into a postage stamp of an island. I was able to demonstrate how you can actually hit the ceiling of the place with one, and but I don't think they wanted that. So that was that, and that's it. When I mentioned the help I got from the committee, and they were all very good indeed, that was true. I forgot to mention somebody who wasn't on the committee, and that was Boyd Thompson. Boyd every week contacts every member, tells them what the food will be, phones them back if they haven't got back to him, phones it into the club, lets me know and the secretary know what everybody's having. And it's quite a military operation. He does it every week, and thank you, Boyd. Anyway, it's come to the part of the evening where I've got to relinquish this. I've loved having it on. I wear it in the bath and everything. So it's been an enjoyable year, as I said earlier, and it gives me great pleasure to hand this over to Archie.
Picture.
Mugshot.
Oh, sorry, you want the other side?
Can you just stand beside him a minute before you sit down?
Yes?
Yes.
Look at this.
I've got that.
Smile. But I'm not to look the way I looked in that list.
Hail the new Caesar.
Sorry, thank you.
That's it, good.
I promise to get the soap out of this before I hand it on next year. Well, in the best interest of, in the best traditions of Rotary, I spent the last 3 nights crafting a gracious and inspirational acceptance speech, which I left on the telephone table. So you're not getting that. Anyway, the idea was to carry on. David and I hope to carry on, keep the impetus that Jim and Douglas started, and keep going roughly along the same lines with a few other little things added in. Jennifer Jones's motto was imagine Rotary, and I'd like to add to that, imagine Rotary with a bit of fun, and imagine Rotary doing the stuff for the community, but doing it in a spirit of fellowship. We want to inspire fellowship next year. So looking forward to it. Hope you all come along with us. Thank you. Oh God, it now gives me great pleasure to invest past President Jim with this beautifully crafted new Rotary medal.
Thank you
Jim.
very much. Thank you.
Can you just look this way for a second while you're doing it?
Yep.
Oh, can you do the hand out, shaking hands again, please? Yeah. Grip and grin.
Grip and
Oh,
grin.
wait a minute, I'll get the Gourock Rotary bit in as well.
Now, how are you going to wear that one in the bath, Jim?
I know.
Quite enough.
That's what I was asking about, so he gets it.
Oh, that's got to get put on. Does that mean Pamela's got to sew?
Yeah.
Oh, she'll be delighted. Jesus. Yeah. Where are we?
We're,
Oh, well, we're now going on holiday, are we not? Those of you whose wives refuse to make tea on a Thursday night are more than welcome to join us here next week here for a start, and then we'll have the usual debate about where we go the week after that. But as many of you, the more the merrier. And we'll convene again. I think the first meeting is on the 4th of August.
yes.
And before that, we've got the joys of a council meeting on the 1st of August. So I look forward to seeing you all zooming then. In the meantime, have a great summer holiday and be inspired by Rotary and think of good things we can do. So, we've now got the concluding toast. Sorry. Rotary International.
Rotary International.
I was looking at the wrong sheet.